Good morning, guys. Welcome to Liverpool FC Journal Moment. W. James. This is your latest Liverpool news, guys. We're going to talk the battle of the egos, as Sport Bild has put it, and Julian Nagelsmann and even John Barnes has weighed in on the argument over Florian Wirtz. Now, look, let's kind of take this back to what started this whole discussion around Florian Wirtz. Now, Wirtz obviously come in, big price tag, perhaps not lived up to the hype and expectation of Wirtz. I think a lot of people were expecting him to come in, hit the ground running, be one of the best players in the Premier League, dominate the Premier League in a very similar style to, Kevin De Bruyne, David Silva did for Manchester City. But it hasn't happened yet. And I think, obviously Wirtz needs time to adapt. He needs time to get himself up to speed of playing in the Premier League. I think there's been a lot of rubbish spoken around about the whole Salah v Wirtz debate. I think people saying that Florian Wirtz has ruined Mo Salah's season so far is very much wide of the mark. I must say, I was arguing with a couple of absolute moron Liverpool fans online last night who were saying that basically Florian Wirtz is the reason Mo Salah's not playing very well and we're not playing the ball to Salah enough and it's all Wirtz's fault, which I think, just shows the fact that they know about as much about football as an Everton fan. There we go. But look, we'll talk about what John Barnes had to say about Florian Wirtz in a minute. But this all kind of comes from this, the comment that was made by Sport Bild in Germany, which was this. And look, I get, I put a health warning on this. I understand that Sport Bild are going to come out very strongly and back their man, Florian Wirtz. He's a German superstar. He's the big great white hope, if you're allowed to use that saying anymore, for German football. He's the great white hope to win them a World Cup. I get that, and anyone's offended by great white hope, I apologise. Mo Salah is increasingly becoming a major problem for Liverpool and Florian Wirtz. That was a comment, that was their opening comment. Shots fired, ladies and gentlemen, shots fired. It's noticeable that he overlooked Wirtz and hasn't made any other summer signings, who together cost around €500 million, shine. Salah has provided 3 assists this season, all of which led to goals, all for players who have been with the club longer. Now, I suppose, look, the kind of weakness of that argument is that maybe he has passed that. I haven't had time this morning to sit and rewatch every Liverpool game. Maybe he has provided opportunities to Ekitike and to Isak and to Wirtz and to Kerkez and Frimpong this season. They just haven't taken them. I mean, that could be part of that argument. Has he overlooked Florian Wirtz? I mean, look, there's evidence possibly that he has. I mean, you go to the Frankfurt game when he could have rolled it square to Florian Wirtz. Wirtz gets a tap in and he's off and running. Salah doesn't do that. He's greedy. He has a shot. He misses, as he's done a number of times this season. Look, it's very hard to prove that there is any kind of conspiracy theory in this. I mean, it is a conspiracy theory, is what it is. That Salah doesn't like Wirtz, doesn't like the new signings, doesn't want to play with them, etc., etc. And I get that. Look, is he a problem for Liverpool? Yeah, I'd say at the moment he is a major problem for Liverpool because of the fact that he is on such big wages. He is held up by some fans. I honestly think that within our fan base, there are some fans that need to remember that the club badge says Liverpool FC. It does not say Salah FC. And I think there are some fans, particularly certain elements within our fan base, that believe it is Salah FC. And they need to fucking grow up. The cult of hero worship needs to stop. Mo Salah is a Liverpool legend. Mo Salah is one of the greatest players ever to play for this club. Not the greatest. I'll maintain that to my dying day. That's Kenny Dalglish. That's Ian Rush. But one of the greatest players ever to play for this club and deserves respect for that. However, his performances this season have been absolutely disgusting. And the manager has not had any bollocks to actually stand up to him and drop him. Now, you kind of wonder at that point, what power does Salah have in the dressing room? Does Salah have way too much power in the dressing room? Maybe, give it the AFCON. He's away for 6 weeks. He comes back, say, let's say Liverpool suddenly find form and find a way of playing that is effective. And Salah comes back, then the manager's got to show balls to turn around to Mo Salah and say, you ain't getting straight back in the team, mate, because this team are playing really well without you. Prove to me that you are worthy of a place in my team. But this kind of rift that has been sowed by certain fans and certain groups between Wirtz and Salah isn't healthy for the club. They both have a part to play. And look, I think, you've only got to look at the Real Madrid game where they both played, and they both played fairly well in that game. And they both took part in that game and they both played as part of that team. So I think it's slightly wide of the mark to say that Florian Wirtz is being deliberately ignored by Mo Salah. Do I think that Mo Salah at times this season has been an egomaniac, has been a bit selfish, has been a bit, too... It's the Mo Salah show? Yes, of course. There was times at Chelsea, I remember sitting watching the game, and there's times when he cuts in from the left and you're thinking, pass it, pass it, pass it. There's Cody's on, pass it. Isak's on, pass it. Ekiti, these players were on, and instead he blazes the ball over the bar. The Frankfurt game, there's a few games this season where you've watched and you've gone, pass the fucking ball, Mo, for God's sake. It's not all about you, mate. And I think that is something that he does need to improve on this season. I think he has become too record-chasing, goal-obsessed at times, and too obsessed about making it about the Mo Salah show. It is, again, like I said, it's LFC on that badge, not Salah FC on that badge, to some degree. So, look, I don't think there's any particular truth in this whole, Salah hates Wirtz kind of story narrative that's been sowed by Bild. And like I said, I don't think there's any truth perhaps in the narrative as well that he's ignoring the new signings. I think that, number one, his form has just been so bad this season anyway. And number two, like I said, I haven't traced back across the season to see what chances he's provided for others that they've missed. Yes, there are chances perhaps he could have provided for others. There are games I remember, certainly recent games where he could have passed the ball to Ekitike, I'd have passed it to Wirtz, and they probably could have scored. But instead, he was way too selfish. And look, if you ask me, do I think Salah should be starting for Liverpool at the moment? No, he shouldn't. He's not playing well. He should be benched. He's looking like an old man trying to play football. That's what he's looking like at the moment. Right, look, in terms of... obviously, Salah, and in terms of Wirtz, this man, this absolute legend, has been talking about the Florian Wirtz situation. And I've got to say, I grew up watching John Barnes play. Absolute fantastic footballer. Absolute brilliant footballer. Total baller, John Barnes. Absolute baller, this man. Got to say, loved watching him play for Liverpool. Look, in terms of what he has had to say on Florian Wirtz, and he has been talking about Florian Wirtz, the article is on a number of Liverpool publications, The Echo, Rousing the Cop, Liverpool.com, loads of different sites, running with the No Tippy Tappy Football podcast comments that John Barnes made recently. Now, John Barnes has said that in his opinion, Arne Slot will get it right with this group of players, and they need time to flourish at Anfield. And obviously, recent form, he admitted, has not been good, and there have been certain concerns about recent form. Losing in the amount of games that we have done, it has not been good enough, and I think that's absolutely 100% accurate. Of course, it is. It hasn't been good enough. No way has it been good enough. John Barnes said Liverpool have spent a lot of money and bought a lot of players, but with that comes the uncertainty as to whether everyone is going to go well straight away. 5 new players have come into the team, 2 fullbacks, which are important positions for us. They've now got to get used to a new way of playing. Then there's the midfield, where you had Jordan Henderson and Fabinho, who were strong defensive midfield players who work with the full-backs. Now we've got more creativity there. You've got players like Florian Wirtz, Ryan Gravenberch, who is now playing there. You've got players like Hugo Ekitike, so we're finding our feet with them. The most important thing is they're all good characters. They're not going to sulk and throw their toys out the pram if things aren't going well. But finding a way of playing, particularly with Wirtz, who I think is a very good player, and finding a home for him with a team and a system that's going to suit him, it's important. The whole idea that because you've got great individual players means you're going to win matches, that has been a bit of an issue. But because they're younger and inexperienced, they'll be here for a while and we'll get it right because they're good characters. On Florian Wirtz, he added, I think he will prove to be a great success. I think he's been doing okay. He's been playing well, he's been creative, but I think that's because the team hasn't been consistent. We're looking at him as part of that inconsistency. But when he's on the ball, in terms of what he does, I think he's been very good. The problem that we have is that before we were a team that passed the ball much quicker and got it forward quicker. Now we're having a lot more touches in midfield and up front, which means that when teams get back with the ball, back behind the ball with 10 men, it's difficult to get through them. We're still finding our feet with that. I'll give them the season, and I think we'll finish 3rd, which will be a disappointment for Liverpool fans, but I think moving forward, we're in a healthy place. I mean, a lot to take from what John Barnes said there. I think he's right in one aspect. Florian Wirtz has been doing some good. He has created a number of chances. It's just players have not taken them. I don't think he's the disaster that everyone is making him out to be. And I certainly don't think that, some of the comments that I heard online last night about Florian Wirtz, calling him an autistic German or something like this, is fair in the slightest. No, like I said, I would question these people even being Liverpool fans. They're probably more Evertonians. But I think it will come right. I think Barnes is right. It is going to take time for these players to gel and to bed in. And if you think about the system that we had previously, where Maka, Sobbo and Gravenberch were on midfield, a lot more hardworking, even going back to the days of Gigi Wijnaldum, Fabinho, Henderson, a lot more hardworking. Wirtz is a lot more creative. He is more a creative 10 than that press run energy 10 that Sobbo, Gerrard, for example, was when he played there. So yeah, there is some element of that within what he is saying. Barnes went on to talk a little bit about Mo Salah as well. He says Mohamed Salah can start every game. It's just the fact that Liverpool are now playing a different way. In the old days, Trent was the creator and Salah was the finisher. The way Liverpool were played was designed for Salah to score goals. Whereas now we are playing in much a different way. Now you've got Wirtz, you've got Ekitike who's dribbling a lot, you've got Gakpo on the left, so we're playing in a different way, which means Salah isn't going to be as impactful, which I agree with. And I think it's taking time for Mo and the fans to get used to that. It's nothing to do with Salah himself, it's the fact that the team is now playing a different way to create chances for different people. It coincides with the fact that he's 33 and people are putting 2 and 2 together, but he can't start every game. But he won't start every game because now we have an abundance of strikers. So therefore, he can be left out. But we have to come up with a way of playing that suits the team. We seem to be trying to fit all the star players in, which you can't do. Now, I think John Barnes has got some element of truth in this. We need to find a solution and a system that works, where players come in, rotate in and out, where we pick the players that suit the system, not try to fit the system to the players. There is an element of that, I think, within what Liverpool are doing at the moment, and John Barnes is correct on that. I think as well, he's right, Salah can't start every game. You know, you're 33 years old, it's not possible. It's also going to take some time, I think, for Salah to get used to the fact, and I think Salah is struggling with this, and this perhaps explains the lack of passing at times from Mohamed Salah, is that it's not all about him anymore, that it is not just about get the ball to Salah and he will score. It's about Ekitike scoring goals. It's about Isak scoring goals, Wirtz scoring goals, Cody scoring goals, Sobbo scoring goals, everybody chipping in. You know, we are not a one-man team, and I think Mo Salah needs to get used to that fact, and John Barnes is correct in that assertion. But it'll take time, and I do believe, you know, that this season maybe that we do end up finishing third. You know, maybe more realistic as a Champions League run or an FA Cup run to get some sort of trophy out of a season. And I know, look, at the start of the season we were all talking about quads and trebles and things like that, but it seems that the way the season has gone with the style change that Arne Slot is trying to put into place, it will take time for Liverpool to get there. Guys, I'd love to know your thoughts on what we've said, on what John Barnes has said, on what Sport Bild has said. Thank you for watching the Liverpool FC Journal, guys. If you've enjoyed it, please obviously smash a like, comment, and then obviously subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll catch you on the next one.